Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today's upload, one heck of an upload. I went up to where Tom Messick disappeared again. Haven't been there since the beginning of summer, and just went up there yesterday, and put up the Trailcam. Got some video footage of that. Also, I've got some very interesting and horrifying encounters to share with you. Before we get into that, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nedolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go, and they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's upload, shall we? Alright guys, so today is the day. Today's the day that I go up to where Tom Messick disappeared. I haven't been up there since, around June, when the first week I caught something run across the trail, and about a week and a half later I was up there narrating a couple of encounters on a rock, and something blasted through the trees. I've got one of my trail cams set for video, and I'm only going to bring one up right now and set it up for video and see how that goes. And then if that goes decent, if I catch any kind of movement or the camera's tripped on, and I do, even if, the important thing is in this location, there is no one that goes there. So if the camera kicks on, that means that there's movement. And so right now I'm going to set this camera up. I've got the strap, I've got the lock, and it's about 42 degrees in upstate New York right now. It'll be a little colder up there, actually. It's about 42 in Glens Falls right now, so it'll be probably 39, 38 degrees. They're calling for snow for the next couple of days up north. But yeah, so this is the beginning of the upload. I'll go up there, I'll set the camera up, I'll sit down in the woods, I'll narrate a couple of encounters, and hopefully everything goes as planned. Alright guys, I am back where Tom Messick disappeared. I'm not really too keen on being here since last time. No one is here, as you can see, except me. I don't know, here. Just completely empty. And it's cold up here. It's actually really chilly. So let's get hiking. Alright. So we're gonna start the hike. This is where it all went down. We're on that wash. Over that way is Lily Pond Trail. This is a wash created by water flow when the snow melts up here. Give you some tour of the Adirondacks quick. So that's the wash right here. Keep it level. It is cold. Real cold. Anyway. A little chilling being up here, to be honest with you. Being that I haven't been up here since the last time. And for all those people that said I'm not going up a hill, obviously I am. So, and then, and it's fucking dead quiet out here. Damn it. All right. Beautiful though, isn't it? So, about Jesse, kind of want to talk about that real quick. Jesse never blamed anybody except himself for what occurred. It was a tragic case. He did have ample warnings. Whew. Just like I have being up here. This is as you can see, it is a mountain. So he did have ample warning, you know. He was never looking for sympathy. He wanted to have you guys to know what happened to him. And, you know, it was tragic. It was friggin' tragic. But never once did he want sympathy. He wanted people to know that, hey, if you have an experience prior to, you know, like when they kept having the experiences, when they kept seeing stuff, leave. They should have left, but they didn't. So, it was sad. It's sad, and he got out what he wanted, which I commend him for. So, I'm gonna hike a little bit more, and so you don't hear me get winded, and then get to the spot where it all occurred. Okay, we are at that exact location. Those are the two rocks that I had myself prepped up on while I was narrating. And over this way, somewhere, whatever it was, came blasting through. Complete silence. I'm gonna set the trail cam up, and it is sprinkling. It's doing something. I don't know. Feels real eerie up here today. Beautiful day though. Cold. Alright, I'm gonna set the trail cam up probably over here somewhere. This is kind of the location of where that occurred. I think I want to set it up on that little pass right there. That'd probably be the smartest thing right there. That little pass. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Fucking eerily quiet out today, guys. Alright, so I think I'll set it up on this tree and have it pointed at that area. Let me set this down somewhere and make sure it stays stable for you. Okay. I'm gonna set it up quick. Ugh. Have it pointed in this area here. To me, that looks like the best location. Shit. Hooked it in wrong. My bad. There we go. All right. Let me check here. Your vantage point. Okay. That looks pretty good to me. Set right there. Get the block out. So yeah, as horrendous as that experience was, he never wanted sympathy. He just wanted to let you guys know that this is what could happen, you know. He blames the government on messing up his wife, you know, with all that crap. Alright, I gotta turn this on quick. Okay. Lock it up. But other than that, he knows he should have taken the warnings, you know? There we go. We got some noise today. Alright, that's good. At least there's some kind of noise going on. And there you go. It's awful wet out here today too. But yeah, so that's the Trailcam where it's set up, and it's going to be pointing to that. It kind of looks like a path. I don't know. What do you guys think? All right, guys. So after getting the trail cam set up, I went and sat on the two boulders that I had showed you in the video. And they were the two boulders that I had been sitting at when whatever that was blew through the trees that day. Get it all set up, take the encounters out of my pack, and I'm gonna just start narrating like I did, so many times before. My camera was dead, like battery drained. And then I was like, this is really weird because it was at a full charge when I left home, full charge when I got there. And all I had recorded was about 11 minutes. So I immediately started to think, well, what if it's this place, yada, yada, yada. Checked my cell phone, and full charge, went back over to the camera, to the trail cam, and it was still on. I had put brand new batteries in it this yesterday morning. And so I don't know what happened to my camera. So I had to end up just setting the trail cam up, hanging out there for a few minutes, and then going home. It was kind of disappointing because I wanted to sit there and do a video, just narrate one from up there because I don't know, it's fun getting out of the studio, you know what I mean? And just being in nature studio. But anyway, that's why there's no more video. I will be going up later on this week to grab the SD card and check out and see what we got. I'm going to set the other camera up as well. I just wanted to kind of give it a trial run with the one. So let's get into some encounters. It was a pleasant night in North England at around 12:30 a.m., August 2011. I was walking to my then girlfriend's. Being around 17 years old, I was by now well accustomed to the streets that only a few years ago seemed quite alien. Like any other night in those days, I was out with friends. We would get high and find something fun to do. I was a little bit stoned writing this. I still am all these years later, but I had been smoking for at least 2 years by that point, and you just don't hallucinate on weed. You can get paranoid, sure, but you do not visually see things like this. All these years later, I still don't see this as a hallucination. Rather, the weed may have allowed this to happen somehow. But I don't want to get into that side too much and just focus on the actual event as I'm writing. When it was time to go home, we split off into groups and headed into our own directions. I was now walking to my girlfriend's alone after leaving my friend at the end of his road. To imagine an empty but quite main road heading out of town into the villages. There are fields, trees, and also horse. But this wasn't a horse or the shape of any animal I knew. I'm walking on the left-hand side of the road. It's dark, and the only light is from the lamp posts that are dotted every 10 or so paces near the hedgerow on the right side. That realization hit me instantly when I saw this creature. The shape of it in the glow of the light, this long, huge, black, muscly, tall, and lanky, but at the same time ripped thing. It was massive, 7-8 feet tall. Its tail was over a meter. It looked like nothing I had ever seen before or since, arched over almost the form of this thing. It looked like it could stand bipedally if it wanted to. All of this I kind of processed in the blink of an eye. Actually, I did because I stood there staring at this beast, my eyes just locked in a way that was instinctual to see if it was aware of me or something. As I'm staring, my hand is reaching simultaneously into my pocket and grabbing my phone. I don't even look at my phone as it's in my hand. I just dial the first number on my call list. You know how when you get to press the green phone and you see the list? I press the last number I called. This is all within the first few seconds when I realize what I think I'm seeing. This is all where the story weirdly gets a bit blurry. I call my friend and try to explain to him that I'm seeing this goddamn werewolf. I remember doing that, but I don't remember hanging up, really, or more importantly, walking past it or seeing it go off. My friend remembers me calling, but he doesn't remember what we said at the end of the call. This was almost 10 years ago now, but it quickly became a joke. I think he and the people who I have talked to about this somewhat believe me. There is a history of similar sightings in the United Kingdom, both old and new, and it wasn't until a few years later that I had become aware of paranormal researchers in the area. They are releasing a documentary this year about the werewolf Dogman phenomena. I am not affiliated with them or anyone, but it sure does drive my story home when I find this out years later. Since then, I have been following the subjects and other subjects alike. Thank you for letting me share. Today's second encounter. My experience happened in western North Carolina, in the Great Smoky Mountains, an area I know most are familiar with. I used to go into the national park at least once a month during the summer. I found this very nice camp spot about 3/4 of a mile in. It was close to Lake Santilla, and Santilla Creek was a good place to catch trout. I set up my camp and made sure to hang my food up since there are black bear out there. I got everything all set up, and then I grabbed my gear and hit the creek. I got 3 nice-sized trout and headed back to camp. I figured I'd hang around in my chair, drink a few beers, and just chill out. It was still mid-afternoon. I hadn't seen a soul since entering the park. I got back to camp, and my food stash was all over the place. Just wrappers and trash lying all over the campsite, but the cans are still there, untouched. At first, I thought that something had managed to get up there and rip open the mesh bag, maybe a raccoon or something. But I then saw the rope I had tied. It was untied, and the mesh bag was not ripped either. It made me scratch my head a bit, but I kind of shrugged off, thinking it was a good thing that I had caught my fish. Later that night, I was sitting at my campfire, feeling lazy after dinner, when I heard this weird noise. It was a clicking sound, like 2 stones being hit together. At first, I thought it was a branch snapping, but no, it was definitely rock on rock, clack, clack, clack. I'm a little weirded out at this point, but maybe a little more puzzled than anything. Then the sound moved to the other side of the woods. It was on my left-hand side now. Then a few minutes later, right-hand side. The same thing, clack, clack, clack. Then it came from behind me. Now I'm really freaked out. I stood up and looked around. I was getting the heebie-jeebies. I just piled more wood on the fire to make it brighter and had another beer to settle my nerves. It stayed quiet for quite a while. I started dozing in the chair and decided it was time to turn in. The fire had burned down pretty low, so I didn't douse it with water. I just went into the tent. After a while, I needed to relieve myself. It was almost dawn, and there was a little light coming through the trees. I slipped on my boots. I did not tie them and just walked maybe 10 feet into the woods when I saw something move. I just froze. There was something standing in the woods maybe 20 feet away, and it stood upright like a person. But there's no way in hell this was a man. It was far too big and furry, kind of like a gorilla with its back to me. I never really believed in all of those stories about hairy man creatures roaming the woods, but here this beast is, right in front of my eyes, exactly like I've always heard described. I don't know what else it could have been except for a Bigfoot. I was really scared and trying to be quiet, but it must have heard me breathing or something because all of a sudden it turned around and stared straight at me. Its face was not hairy at all. It looked like a man, but more primitive, like a caveman, but its eyes are what really freaked me out. They were red, like a demon's eyes. My heart was pounding. I tried to back up slowly, and backed up maybe 3 steps before this thing made this noise. The growl was menacing, and I just ran like hell. I needed to get somewhere safe, so I ran back down the trail in the direction of my truck. I had to stop behind a tree and catch my breath and check my shoes. That's when I listened. I don't think it followed me. I didn't hear anything, but I did not want to waste any time running again and again into the truck. I stayed in the truck with the doors locked, and I did not go to sleep. In the morning, When morning came, I felt safer. I hadn't seen anything further. I made the decision to go back up to camp and collect all my gear. I was half afraid the tent would be shredded or something, but no. Everything was the way I left it. I looked around for footprints, thinking that I would be able to find a print and take a photo, and I'd have proof. But I never found anything. Tonight's third encounter. This was back sometime in 2019, late in the year. One of my friends, we'll call him Ted, saw something in the middle of the night. Tired and feeling fatigued, he woke up, rolled out of bed, headed to the bathroom, and then to the kitchen for a late-night snack. While indulging in his snack, he began walking around his living room until he made his way to the back of the house window. It was on the second floor by the kitchen, to which, while staring outside at whatever, a sudden figure in his backyard caught his attention. The yard is huge, and nothing really in it aside for 2 trees, one of which has since rotted and long fallen down. He noticed, a bit past the since rotting tree, was a figure with glowing red eyes, large snout, standing approximately 7 to 8 feet tall. From seeing the creature rear up on its hind legs, and judging its size by how tall it appeared to be next to the tree, it also had jet black fur, as well as a muscular type of physique to Arnold back in the 80s. A long snout with very large perked ears similar to a German shepherd, or a wolf, and what looked like antlers, or maybe it was just part of its ears. He really doesn't know because it was very dark. The creature took a sniff and looked directly at him. As his eyes met the gaze of the creature, he noticed that its eyes were the shade of blood red, the same color mentioned before. He couldn't believe what he was seeing, but also mentioned he had seen so many weird things and such that he was not really fazed in the least. He knew what he was looking at was a real deal, and saw its breath in the cold night. As the creature grunted and bared its teeth, it also started growling at him. The growl wasn't that of a normal animal. It was deep, primal, guttural growl. Nothing like he had ever heard before. The creature then took one last gaze at him and ran off, jumped the fence. He shortly afterward returned to his room, lying on his bed, wondering if he had really just seen what he saw. He found it hard to fall back to sleep, but luckily did. He still wonders to this day if the creature would ever return, or if he will ever see it again. This encounter was not far from me, but is absolutely horrifying to think about. Because we live in the suburbs, to this day he still does not know what he really saw that night. And it can only be left up to whoever's imagination. Tonight's final encounter. I'm retired military, 20 plus years of service. I worked on the job to gather intelligence and analyze, report, track people, etc. I've been in some bad places and had to do some bad jobs in the military. I want to give you information some of us know about these creatures. In the early 90s, I had to help recover what was left of a soldier's body in the country I was in at the time. Let's just say it was someplace in Europe. We all had plastic bags and were ordered to pick up anything and everything that did not belong. It was officially listed as a training accident. Here's the story. 2 soldiers were out in a remote area in Europe doing what is called the heart-shaped recon of an area about 4 clicks in size. This was their assigned area. We were going down each flank of this heart-shaped area, separated about a click apart in the rugged wilderness, going down each flank, then met in the middle and backtracked through the middle, then back to the base of operations or forward operating base. When the soldiers were within 50 meters from each other, one of the other soldiers heard a scream and saw a very large creature reach out with a large, hairy, long arm, grab the other soldier, pick him up by his legs and feet, and swing the soldier from his legs. It was like you swinging a large baseball bat when you were a child. Anyway, head first into a tree, busting his head like a yoke. The creature then started screaming and roaring while dismembering the dead soldier. The eyewitness was in shock, so traumatized that he left everything and ran back to the base of operations. All training was shut down and all units were put on alert immediately. During that time, we were all armed. Not told what happened and why the soldiers were given plastic bags and told to be within an arm's reach of each other, pick up anything that didn't belong to the soldier that was murdered. I had almost 20 years of service already at that time. I was very experienced. While everyone was completing their missions, the 3-letter groups came in and set up a tent, the men in black. You sign papers that state you will not talk or you will lose everything, your reputation, career, retirement, threat of prison, etc. Those kinds of threats and cover-ups. Everyone respected the man that was murdered by that thing. We had many combat operations. Very few people knew about this. I'm sick and tired of the lies. You want answers? You can't do much when you're in the military. A military friend introduced me to a guy who asked me if I would try and collect evidence of this creature in Ohio back in the mid-90s when I was back in country. I already wanted answers, so I said yes, not knowing what I was getting myself into. I did find and collect evidence, hair, skin, etc. The eyewitnesses I interviewed were scared to death by what they had experienced. The evidence was supposedly sent to Ohio State University, including a video and audio, you name it. All of the evidence conveniently disappeared. It's interesting to note that DoD government-tagged vehicles followed me in a remote area. It's all a big cover-up. They know exactly what's going on. The bodies they already had that long ago. In my job, we're all briefed on these things at the time. I know a lot more, but it's hard to write and talk about. Eyes and ears everywhere. I'm just someone that cares about my country and that is sick of seeing people discredited in order to shut them up. Check out Lee County, Kentucky. Owsley County, Kentucky. There were 2 people murdered by these things. It just so happens one was a military vet. I think that was in 2016. The man had footage of his own murder. Someone I know was in law enforcement in Lee. It's funny how the FBI showed up before he could even pick up the phone. Black Ops comes in, teams that kill them, fly the body out. You get my drift. There are plenty of witnesses, including law enforcement, of course. They were threatened. The guy I was referring to suddenly retired after that. So, yeah, Kentucky. Think about Knott County, Kentucky. There's another one. That young man was not in the military and unfortunately didn't make it to the age of 15, 14. Poor Corey Godsey. Yeah, some very good information right there. With that, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Your support is what makes this channel so special, so thank you. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on the children, the pets, the family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there. They're dangerous. God bless you all.